Shri Guru Vandana. The lotus feet of the spiritual master are the only way by which he can attain pure devotional service. I bow down to his lotus feet with the great awe and reverence. By his grace one can cross the ocean of material suffering and obtain the mercy of Krishna. My only wish is to have my consciousness purified by the words emanating from his lotus mouth. Attachment to his lotus feet is the perfection that fulfills all desires. He opens my darkened eyes and fills my heart with transcendental knowledge. He is my Lord, birth after birth. From him ecstatic prema emanates, by him ignorance is destroyed. The basic scriptures sing of his character. O spiritual master is the ocean of mercy, the firmament of Guru, and the Lord and Master of the devotees. O Master, be merciful unto us, give us the shade of your lotus feet, may your fame be spread all over the world.
We take shelter from your lotus feet.
Jaya. Technical help is key, is the matter.
How do we touch up to this? If you've got a HDMI, what have you got? I've got every adapter. You give me any cable. Cable. Yeah, but not a cable.
The cable is locked. It's locked. As such.
Did you ask that you needed it?
Huh?
Did they know that you needed it?
Yeah, that's not good. technical things. It's sorry. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunya Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunya Bihari Sanstapikacharya Srila Prabhupada ki, Grantaraja Srimad Bhagavatam ki, Gora Premanandi. All glories to the assembled devotees. Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Still a little bit technical stuff to set up here. What have we got coming up on the screen? That's okay. Looks like the right thing, does it? And just one more little thing to sort out, and then we'll chant the verse. We're okay. This morning is one of our scientific Saturdays, and this one I'm going to go over a talk that I gave at the university just last week, and next week doing the second part of the talk that we gave. But it's going to be linked to a particular verse in the Srimad Bhagavatam, which we don't have on the board, no? Even though I did announce it. But I'll read it. And so we're going to be reading from the Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, Chapter 7, and this is text 5. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 Deshata kalato yosa vavastata svato anyata avilupta vabhodatma sayujeta jayakatam. I'll repeat it a couple of times just so that we get to hear the Sanskrit. Deshata kalato yosa vavastata svato nyanta avilupta vabhodatma sayujeta jayakatam. Deshata kalato yosa vavastata svato anyata avilupta vabhodatma sayujeta jayakatam. And now the synonyms. Deshataha, circumstantial. Kalataha, by the influence of time. Yaha, one who. Asal, the living entity. Avastata, by situation. Svataha, by dream. Anyata, by others. Avalupta, extinct. Avabodha, consciousness. Atma, pure self. Saha, he. Ujeta, engaged. Ajaya, with nescience. Katam, how is it so? Translation. The pure soul is pure consciousness and is never out of consciousness. either due to circumstances, time, situations, dreams, or other causes. How then does he become engaged in nescience? Please repeat. The pure soul is pure consciousness
It's pure consciousness.
and is never out of consciousness,
And is never out of consciousness.
either due to circumstances,
Either due to circumstances,
time, situations,
situations,
dreams,
dreams,
or other causes.
or other causes.
How then does he become engaged
How then does he become engaged
in consciousness?
in consciousness?
Purport. The consciousness of the living being is always present and never changes under any circumstances, as above mentioned. Have we an issue? Oh,
They're speaking about what is happening with the screen or something
No,
like
no,
that.
no. About light.
About the light.
I want to put the light there.
How do you mean?
No.
Sorry.
Because this light up him. Up him.
is it meant to be a light up here?
Yeah. And the light goes now.
But it's okay, I can read.
Oh,
It's all right. So thank you very much. It's okay. Okay. The consciousness of the living being is always present and never changes under any circumstances, as above mentioned. When a living man moves from one place to another, he is conscious that he has changed his position. He is always present in the past, present, and future, like electricity. One can remember incidents from his past and conjecture about his future, also on the basis of his past experience. He never forgets his personal identity, even though he is placed in awkward circumstances. How then can the living entity become forgetful of his real identity as pure spirit soul and identify with matter, unless influenced by something beyond himself? The conclusion is that the living entity is influenced by the avidya potency, as confirmed in both the Vishnu Puran and the beginning of Srimad Bhagavatam. The living entity is mentioned in Bhagavad Gita 7.5 as Para Prakriti, and in the Vishnu Puran he is mentioned as Para Shakti. He is part and parcel of the Supreme Lord as potency and not as the potent. The potent can exhibit many potencies, but the potency cannot equal the potent at any time. One potency may be overcome by another potency, but to be potent, all potencies are under control. To the potent, all potencies are under control. The Jiva potency, or the Kshetragya Shakti of the Lord, has the tendency to be overpowered by the external potency, avidya karma sangya. And in this way, he is placed in the awkward circumstances of material existence. The living entity cannot be forgetful of his real identity unless influenced by the avidya potency. Because the living entity is prone to the influence of the avidya potency, he can never equal the supreme potent. Deshata kalato yosav avastata svatom yata avilupta vabodhatma sayujeta jaya katam. The pure soul is pure consciousness and is never out of consciousness, either due to circumstances, time, situations, dreams, or other causes. How then does he become engaged in nescience? Now this chapter is entitled Further Inquiries by Vidura. So this verse actually is spoken by Vidura as is part of his questions to Maitreya. And really his question has come out of a doubt in his mind about how Krishna comes and performs his pastimes in the material world. Because he understands very naturally that the living entity in the material world is covered and has forgotten his identity and is engaging with the modes, the three gunas, for all sorts of activities. But that cannot be the position of Krishna. So Vidura has asked, but since the Supreme Personality of Godhead is the complete spiritual whole and is unchangeable, how is he connected with the material modes of nature and their activities? If this is his pastime, how do the activities of the unchangeable take place and exhibit qualities without the modes of nature? It's a brilliant question, and probably one which all of us have pondered.
Can you please repeat again the question? Please, I want to exactly. Yeah, thank you.
Happy to do that. So, he's saying, since Krishna is complete, he's the spiritual whole, and is unchangeable. So Krishna is not just the absolute source, he's the totality of everything. So that's Krishna's position. We cannot even appreciate. We can hear these words, but we cannot appreciate the extent of Krishna's potency. So how is it, Vidura is saying, how is he connected with the material modes of nature and their activities? How can he be involved in this world then? Because this world is made of Maya. It is composed of the three gunas. Everything that is happening is the changing modes, creating changing forms and circumstances and things in front of us. So if Krishna is coming and performing pastimes, and Vidura has witnessed those, he's wondering, well, how is this happening? So how do the activities of the unchangeable Supreme Lord take place and seem to exhibit qualities, activities, without the modes of nature? So people ask this in terms of what's going on in the spiritual world. You know, if the spiritual world is just pure consciousness and there's no modes which are creating all the objects and all the things that are going on around us, then what's there in the spiritual world? Is there anything to enjoy? Or is it really boring? That's kind of at the heart. Vidura is doing this certainly for our benefit. You know, so that's key. So I've chosen this particular verse because it's a really important purport that Prabhupada is offering, in which he is explaining how consciousness is persistent. And this is what I took the students through the other day. People have no idea what consciousness is about. I haven't opened it yet. People have no idea what consciousness is. So we have to take them to first principles. Even when we do discussions with big philosophers and neuroscientists, when they go to these conferences, frankly, they still don't understand what consciousness is. They're talking about things that consciousness does, or states of consciousness, like dreams or altered states. But they're not talking about the essence of what it is to be a conscious thing. And that's what Prabhupada is getting at here. And that's what he means by the pure soul is pure consciousness and never out of consciousness. We'll take you through that. So, we ask this question. When we are talking about consciousness, yes, we can refer to Srimad Bhagavatam and we get huge enlightenment from it. But we're not asking people to believe in consciousness in terms of what is said in a book, or what can be proved by philosophy, or established by philosophy, or proved by science. We're asking, what can you know as an individual for certain? What is the one thing that you can know for certain? That no one can prove to you, and no one needs to prove to you. And that is, I exist. This is Descartes' thing. At least Descartes was, in the West. This was already well established in Vedic philosophy and probably in other meditative traditions as well. The one thing we can be sure of is, I exist. We challenge the students. Any of you think you don't exist? Because if you don't get the lunch at the end of the talk. No point serving food to someone who doesn't exist. And even if someone thinks, well, maybe in the future I will annihilate the self and then I will not exist. Yeah, but at the moment you do. At the moment you're sure that you exist. Yeah, you may have some philosophical idea about where you can take it, but at the moment you know you exist. That's the important thing. So, this is called a pre-philosophical axiom. Axiom means something which is foundational. It's basic. Everything else can be built on this. And that's what Krishna consciousness, it is the most powerful philosophical process because it has the most powerful axioms, starting points. Points that are not beliefs. They're not just some statements in some book that we want to believe in, some statements by some guru. No. These are axioms which cannot be refuted by anyone. They're pre-philosophical. They exist before anyone can start speculating. They're pre-scientific. They exist before you can get any external evidence for them. And they start like this. These are some of the axioms. And these have been analysed by Jiva Goswami in his Tattva Sandarbha. Very powerful, very useful. Prabhupada talks about them. A couple of years back we did a purport from the second canto, was it 2.235, which Prabhupada actually expands on Jiva Goswami's ideas. So these axioms go like this. I exist. I know that. And how do I know I exist? Because I experience stuff. Isn't it? I'm aware of things happening around me. I'm aware of things happening and my changing feelings and my changing experiences. When a living man moves from one place to another, he is conscious that he has changed his position. Therefore, I know I exist. I was in that position, now I'm in this position. I experience. And I am the subject of my experiences. When we say subject in this context, we mean the I, like in grammar. First person, I, second person, you, third person, he, she, it. Right? So first person, I, the subject. All my experiences are first person. I see, I hear, I feel, I want, I like, and so on. I am an experiencer. So, I am the observer of otherness. This is what consciousness does. Generally, it observes otherness. We can look out the window and see buildings, and you can almost see the lake from here. So, you can see things which are out there. Those are different from us. Even in this room, I'm seeing things which are other than me. Even when I look at my hand, I go, is that actually that thing there? Is that actually me? Starts to look very weird when you really examine it closely. It appears something other than us. So I am an observer of otherness. What happened to there should be another couple there missing. Oh, they must have got knocked out. So not only am I the observer of otherness, but I'm also the observer of my internal thoughts. And we do a little experiment like this. We ask people, just relax, close your eyes for a moment, do this little experiment. And I just want you to let your mind run free. I'm going to give you something to start it off. And then just let it run. Don't try to think, don't try to control it, just try to watch it. Just see where your thoughts go. Just let them run. So just to get things going, somewhere nice. Just let the thoughts run. Somewhere nice. Okay, that's probably enough daydreaming for a Bhagavatam class. Come back to the room for a moment. Now, you all had a little train of thought? Went from one thing to the next? Yeah? Can you go back and try and put the thoughts in order? See what was the first thing that came to your mind? You can do it, you can do it. Just think about it. First thing, and then where did that go? And what thought did that kick off? And where did that thought come up to? Come on. Take a moment just to kind of reconstruct the chain of thoughts that you just had. It's possible to do it, isn't it? And actually it's a very interesting exercise to do when you find yourself as you've just gone off in some reverie. This is called associative thinking in modern psychology. But Patanjali also talks about it. This is vichar. And it's different from vikalpa, which is logical thinking. Both show that the mind is something different to us. In this context, you're simply just kind of have been watching a set of thoughts flow from one to the next without any type of conscious guiding, without trying to control it. The mind is just generating stuff in front of you, and you are simply watching it. It's like, you know, having ChatGPT on your thing now. You know, with Google, they've got it as an option. And as you're trying to read some of the search things, ChatGPT is saying, oh, you're looking for such and such, and well, you know, this is that, and it's just churning up stuff in front of you. Right? That's what the mind does. And we are the observer of the mind. We are the observer of those moving thoughts. The other type of thinking is logical thinking, and that's also like how you deal with Google. It's where you ask a question and the mind generates an answer. That's generally more, you know, we're trying to take charge, we're trying to think, what's the answer to this? What was that, the answer to that question? What is, you know, such and such a person's name? You know, I'm trying to search, you know, for something. So that's a different type of thinking. And in meditation, actually, it's the first one that's harder, because you're trying not to think, but the mind is still churning up stuff. So that's why it's harder to deal with that. The vikalpa you can deal with, because you just have to stop asking stupid questions, or, you know, for your mind to answer. But even when you don't do that, the mind still thinks, oh, I've got something to say. So it goes on. So we are the observer, the witness to our thoughts. And then the most important aspect is the one that Prabhupada talks about in this purport. I am the persistent witness. I am the persistent observer. I am the same subject experiencer throughout my life. Now, a lot of people have a hard time with this, and I'm sure you've all, in discussing this with people, you know, and people say, yeah, but no, I do change throughout my life. I'm not the same person I was when I was a kid. Right? People say like that. They think their personality has changed, their ideas, their outlook. They think they're a nicer person than they used to be, or whatever. And that's all true. But underneath that, the I am a nicer person than I was. The I is the same entity, the same I. My personality, I have the personality then, and I've got a personality now. The I is never changing. That's the point. So Prabhupada says, he is always present in the past, present, and future, like electricity. It's a very, I don't know if I'm quite caught what Prabhupada is referring to there. So at the end, if anyone's got any insights on that, is always present in the past, present and future, like electricity. Somehow or other, we're the thing running through it all. One can remember incidents from his past, and my favourite exercise in these sort of circumstances is asking people to go back to their first their first day at school. I used to do it when I was at Akandadhi Manor and dealing mostly, we had more of an Indian congregation there. I used to say, go back to your earliest childhood memory. And some people can go back to 2 years old, maybe even just a bit younger, and can remember some things. And you were there then, and you're here now. Then when I was doing some kind of more general work with retreat groups, I found that if I asked people to go back to their childhood memories, half the room would burst into tears. They had such traumatic childhoods that it was a very difficult thing, and it was kind of shocking to see the circumstances. But a fairly reasonable one is first day at school. Everyone kind of has a fairly reasonable memory of their first day at school, yeah?
Yeah.
Excited? Happy? Worried? Did anything terrible happen? You were there. You were the person experiencing that. That was you, the experiencer, having that moment. And you're the experiencer now. Of course, your body has changed, your mind has changed, your personality has changed, your outlook, your ideas, your beliefs, your everything that is attached to you has changed. But not the fact that it was you there as the experiencer. And this is the big thing that we're trying to get over. That what we're trying to get over to people is when we're talking about consciousness, we're talking about consciousness as the power, the ability to be the experiencer. That thing which allows us to be the experiencer. That's consciousness. Rather than what we are conscious of. And that conflation between consciousness as the experiencer and consciousness as thinking that it is what we experience is the big issue that we have to help society unpack. If they are going to come to this conclusion that I am not this body, I am the experiencer entity within it, the spirit soul, the pure Atma. So, we try and break it down like this. Consciousness as the experiencer, three key aspects. It gives us our sense of being me. It is the thing that gives me the sense that I am the subject of my experiences. I am the experiencer. And I am the persistent singular experiencer, meaning I'm the same experiencer throughout my life. I'm the same me experiencing stuff. There's no one else. There's not two of me. There's not different me's. It's just the one me. The pure soul is pure consciousness and is never out of consciousness, either due to circumstances, time, situations, dreams, or other causes. There's another aspect to this particular verse. That consciousness never extinguishes. Now this is another problem that neuroscience and science fools itself. It thinks, well, we know that there are times when you are not conscious, deep sleep, anesthetics. So maybe if we're going to find the cause of consciousness, we have to find out what turns off consciousness and what turns it on. And that will be the cause. Nah. What Vedanta explains really develops this particular point. That the Atma is never stops consciousness. In deep sleep, what do we remember experiencing? Nothing. But just because you don't remember experiencing anything is only because there was nothing going on in your mind or connected within your mind and you to experience. It's like if the screen goes black, you're still observing, but you're observing nothingness. And therefore, what will be your memory of that period of observing? There'll be nothing. And because you've got no memory of experience, you think, I was not experiencing. That's how Bhagavatam explains it. Never out of consciousness. So, these are the 3 points of the of consciousness as the experiencer. Right? Sense of existence, subject of my experience, and being the persistent singular experiencer. And then, in terms of what consciousness experiences, we experience unified and integrated events. That means it's very interesting because we've got different senses, and our different senses are engaging with the world and picking up information in different ways. Light is coming into our eyes, and that has to be processed and go to the brain. Vibrations are coming through the air and hitting our eardrum and being processed as electricity and going somewhere in the brain. Goes to the other side. Touch. I'm feeling the ground, feeling what I'm sitting on. Are being picked up by some of the nerve endings in my skin. Messages sent up. And I'm experiencing all of that together. I feel the warmth. That's another type of sensory experience. I feel the temperature of the room. I feel the air moving on me. So, and smells are wafting up, from the incense and from the kitchen, So, all of these are coming into my conscious experience. And I'm experiencing it as one unified moment. That's amazing. And actually, in neuroscience terms, we can't explain how the brain does that. That is a whole issue on itself. It's called the binding problem. How is it that the brain actually ties all these different sensory inputs, which are being processed at different rates in different places, but at the same time give a unified picture? All connected. It's amazing. So that's unified and integrated events. And these events are experienced from my first person perspective. I am experiencing this room from here. You're experiencing it from over there. And so it's subjective in that respect. And in terms of our dealings with the philosophers and scientists, this one is the important one. My experiences have phenomenal qualities. Now, when we say phenomenal in this sense, we don't mean just amazing. They are amazing. In fact, it is what is. But the thing about phenomenal qualities is that it is totally amazing. So amazing that it completely destroys the idea that your experience is provided by the laws of physics. It is so amazing that it completely disrupts and refutes any idea that consciousness and the experience that consciousness has can be explained by what science thinks exists in physics, biology, and neuroscience. Let me take you through phenomenal qualities. Some of you may have asked to do this before. I love doing this. This is a schoolyard thing. You take your fingers about that far apart, like that, in front of your eye, even though I'm wearing glasses, it still works. Just about a few inches just in front of your eye. Do you see the floating finger?
Yes.
Everyone, I want to make sure you've got your floating finger. If you don't get this, excuse me, sir? Have you got your floating finger? Please, this is really important. Please, try this. Seriously. No, I'm actually, this This is very serious. Could you do this? I want you to hold your fingers about that. That's too far apart. A little closer and a little further from your eyes. Further from your eyes. Further out from your head. In front of you. Yeah, closer. Bring your fingers closer together. Look through them. Now do you see something floating in front? A little floating finger between your two fingers. Yeah? Now, think about this. You have just seen something that doesn't exist. A little closer here. Little closer. You've seen something that does not exist. This is not a visual illusion that's caused by physics. You know when you put a stick in water, it appears bent. But that's to do with the laws of physics, the refraction. That light, goes through water at a different speed than it goes through air. So that causes it to appear that the stick is bent. That's an illusion caused by the outside world. This is not. You cannot explain this illusion by anything outside of yourself. Let me explain. The normal way that people will say, oh, of course you're seeing this, because it's stereoscopic vision. It's your two eyes. And do this. Get your finger so you can see the floating finger. Close one eye. It disappears. Close the other eye. It disappears. You see? It's only there when you're both eyes open. Right? So that explains it, doesn't it? It's a mixture of the two eyes. All explained. No. No, that just makes it harder. Because now we know that this eye has got this vision with no floating finger in it. Right? And this eye has got that finger and that one bit of that one over there and no floating finger. So the light has gone into in the eye separately. And in the eye in this eye there's no floating finger. There's no floating finger here. And each eye is now sending a signal to the back of the brain. Right? So where's the mixing happening? It's not happening in the light outside of your face. It's not happening in this eye or that eye. Where's the mixing taking place? Well, the only thing someone could say is it's in the brain. The brain's mixing these two signals. Okay, so the brain has mixed the two signals and produced an image. Where in the brain is the image? If I cut your brain open, cut up your head and poke around, will I see a picture? No, there's just electricity shooting off in there. There is no image. How is it I experience an image when it is not there on the outside world, it is not there in my eyes, it is not there in the brain? Where is it? It's in the mind. It's a quality of the mind that I am observing. That floating finger has to be something that is generated post-brain, after the brain has done its thing, by some other system that is not physical. This is the evidence that the brain cannot explain what we experience qualitatively. So when we say something has phenomenal qualities, it has properties which are not part of the external world. They are not part of physics. They are not part of our biology. They are qualities of our inner experience, which belongs to the mind and which is observed by consciousness. And we call these properties qualia. Qualia, I think, outside of anything in Sanskrit, including Krishna, this is the most important word in the world. Qualia are the qualities of our inner experience. Our experience of that finger is a picture. It has shape. It has colour. It has even movement in it. These things are qualities of my experience. And we've just shown that they don't exist anywhere else outside of my mind. Obviously I've got fingers, but my experience of those fingers is what my mind is telling me it looks like. So the whole of my conscious experience of this world is included within the mind. It is generated in the mind, and it includes qualities that only the mind has. Now, Sankhya philosophy ties the qualities that the mind has with the properties that exist in the outside world. Physics cannot do that. That's the amazing thing. And that's next week's class, when we get right into qualia in much more detail. And it's really important. Devotees always like, well, what's the proof that we can offer people in terms that proves that we're not this body? And of course, most of us like to talk about things like out-of-body experiences and all these kind of paranormal things, reincarnation studies, and and yeah, they're good. And for the public, frankly, they're probably the most important and useful preaching that can be done to give people a little faith. But in the scientific community, in the academic world, they go, maybe those are just stories, very nice, but how do you test all that sort of stuff? You can't do it. We can't do science on those things very well. No, you can do more than they admit. And when people do science on them, then they kind of say, oh, I don't like the way they did that. They always moan about it. So they moan about that sort of evidence. But they can't moan about qualia. They have nothing on it. They know it's the Achilles heel of science, of physicalism. They know this is the thing that destroys the idea that we're simply meat machines, that we're simply this body, this brain, and that there is nothing but physics. Qualia destroys that. It proves to the individual. And am I asking you to believe something just because it's said in this book? You have just proved qualia to yourself. You just proved that it is something non-physical, non-brain. You've already discovered that your consciousness can access information and qualities that are not part of this world. And it confirms your understanding that you exist as the experiencing thing. And what you experience is not material. Therefore, you as the experiencer are not material. That's where we're kind of going with all of this. So what consciousness experience, these unified moments, these events experienced from first person perspective, and that they have phenomenal qualities, qualia. So when we've got the brain's incredible, no question. It's an amazing thing. It links the sensory input with your motor outputs. It links the gyanendriyas to the karmendriyas. That's its purpose. And it can do that without your conscious awareness of it. It can act reflex. It's running so much of what's going on in your body without your thinking about it. It's like this computer. It's doing all sorts of programs and apps and things to keep everything running smoothly. Do I care about it? No. As long as there's nice qualia coming up on the screen, things for me to see and enjoy, I'm quite happy. So the Atma in this body, we're not trying to worry about every last, am I sending signals down to my heart to make sure it pumps? Am I sending signals down to my stomach to make sure it's doing and releasing its juice? No. That's not the job of the Atma. The Atma is just here to enjoy. And it enjoys through the mind. And the mind gathers the stuff through the senses and presents it on the screen. We go, yep, gratification. Just what I was looking for. So that's the brain. The brain's amazing. But it's just got neural electrical activity. And this was an insight given, I was very lucky, early 80s, having association with Sadhguru Prabhu. And just one, many things he gave, but just one thing really stuck in my head and became a meditation for decades after that. He said, how come your brain's got electricity, but you see the world as a picture? That's just what we've been explaining. We take it for granted. You see, we're so stupid and so conditioned. We take for granted that my eyes are looking out. Of course I should see the world as a picture. It's picturesque. But actually, it's completely inexplicable in material terms. Because actually all the information about the world is just coming to light. The light's turned into electricity. The electricity's buzzing around my brain. Where's the picture? So these aspects really raise the question. Okay, the brain's amazing. It's got electrical activity. But all the contents of my experience, where are they? What do they fit in? And who is the experiencer of all the contents? And that's why we say that there's, in simple terms, there's three main functions happening that make up your experience of the world. There's the physical stuff, ultimately ending up in electricity in the brain. There's the mind as the interface, taking the data from the world and the brain and presenting it as qualia. And then there's you, the experiencer, lapping it all up. So three different functions. That's our message to the world. That's our contribution. And things are changing in the world of consciousness studies so quickly. And in next month, end of April, the Bhaktivedanta Institute has been given its first opportunity on the biggest stage of consciousness and science. A conference in Tucson has been going on since '94. This is where all the big shots involved in neuroscience and philosophy, come together to discuss science. And the Bhaktivedanta Institute has been given a 4-hour workshop on the first day where we get to present our ideas to show what we're calling top-down consciousness. That consciousness is not something generated from the bottom up by brain and so processing, but actually it is top-down. It is the in charge. It is the kshetra gyan. And to show that and its real-world opportunities. So things are moving. So we beg the devotees, please. The Bhagavatam has already explained all this. This is the most incredible philosophical analysis, far beyond what any of the materialistic traditions have ever come up with. Delve deeply into it. Look into it and try and appreciate and realize all of this. And if we can then pass it on to others, we can convince them of Krishna consciousness, at least convince them of the starting point. And not this body. They are pure consciousness. They are the pure soul having pure consciousness. And why not live in this world as you really are, an entity of pure consciousness, rather than an entity that thinks I am this body and bound for death. And a nice little email from one of the students the other day. He said, oh, thank you, I didn't understand everything, but it was really nice. And I'm really going to try now and live as an Atma. So very nice. all Srila Prabhupada's mercy. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much for the presentation. Just last week I'm thinking about something, and since we are spiritual organization, I will ask you about law of karma that is dealing in the way that give us experiences in this life, like results of our past deeds that we are not able to understand, and we may think it's not right, and how the consciousness can deal it in the right way to accept it. Of course, we know to be tatendum kampam susamikshamano like that. But I feel in difficulty to understand like why some family member can be toward me like that if I'm trying to be quite nice and what can be the right word, proper in my relationship, and the things are wrong, or some unknown person. How we should accept it. I heard that one, like dog, if he does something wrong, one veterinary said, in few seconds, if you punish him, I mean something like, don't do it like that, he may understand why it's happened. But if you do, you come back after 2 hours and mess is there, you cannot teach what wrong was there and to rectify it. So I don't know, this is how we could deal it in the not making mental problems, how we should accept as spiritual persons that something is coming to us without that we don't understand why, and how we, this is my real question, how the Lord made it that we could change to become proper if we don't understand why it's happening to us, something that we don't understand, that we were wrong, or
How do we learn from mistakes in past lives if we can't remember them?
Yeah.
And sometimes it can feel unfair, both for us or for others. This is, of course, a huge topic. We could workshop this one all day. It's a great topic. Let me just look at it from this point of view here. And it may not answer it in completeness. In simple terms, karma is a fair system. We know that it ultimately balances things out properly, and that we are never subject to circumstances that haven't got some cause in our past activities. Of course, the issue is that we're not aware of those activities. Therefore, when things happen to most people in this life, they think, "Oh, why has that happened to me?" And because they are trained to think about, from a Christian, say, or Judaic, Abrahamic point of view, they've got one life and then maybe they go to heaven. So they think, I'm a decent person in this life, why am I suffering? Because they don't understand past lives. So only the fact that there are past lives makes any sense to karma. Karma would not be a nice, fair thing were it not for the fact that things are generated from many, many births in the past and will be equalized over many lives in the future. But it becomes difficult to know, well, what am I supposed to learn from this circumstances if I can't understand maybe what I did or how I contributed to this circumstance? So that's where I think for a devotee we understand the general principle. Yes, I have past lives, I've probably done so much crazy stuff, so many nasty things, that whatever's happening to me in this life is pretty mild compared to what it could be, maybe what it should be. And in fact, that's generally the case with devotees, that the spiritual master and Krishna are kind of holding back the tsunami of karma that should come upon us in order that we're actually got a little freedom to engage in service with a reasonably clear mind, so we're not over disturbed. But if we're to learn from past activities, we learn through Shastra. We learn that if I have this type of difficulty, and difficulties with family members are a painful one, you know. The story of Daksha, Shiva and Sati talk about that, you know, the arrows from, the pain inflicted by family members is worse than the arrows of an enemy, you know. So how do we learn from that? And all we can be asked to do is, there must have been aspects of my selfishness, my personal interests, my lack of kindness, my lack of empathy, my lack of service and reciprocation with other persons that has contributed to me now being the recipient of those qualities. So the Bhagavatam helps us identify the qualities that we might have lacked in the past. And more importantly, it's saying, well, maybe if we adopt those qualities now, something magical might happen in resolving some of the difficulties that we're having. Maybe our attitude to the circumstances and the pain it's giving us might change. Maybe our change of behavior and attitude might change the behavior and influence of other persons. So I think the Bhagavatam gives us some help, that we don't have to know how nasty we were in a past life. We just have to know how to overcome such attitudes now. And thanks to the kindness that we have from Krishna and the spiritual master, we have a certain freedom that we can actually overcome, you know, our lesser, baser qualities and be nicer people. I hope that helps a little.
Also, I wanted to ask you, when you was repeating the question of Vidura, he was praising the omnipotency of the Lord, and you said that we are not able to appreciate enough these potencies of the Lord. So now I'm thinking, even I was asking something my spiritual master about that. When we maximize ourselves, being conscious of ourselves, of our body, our consciousness, whatever, then we are automatically minimizing the power of the Lord, even in the form of deities, holy names, Shastra. So how, I'm thinking now, of course we know elevated persons, pure persons that are explained in Shastras. They are not maximizing themselves, and that's why they could maximize the power and see experience the power of the Lord. What is the chance for myself, until I'm conscious of my body, my functions, everything, to not do that, to not maximize myself and then minimize power of the Lord in any aspects He gave to us? I'm a little bit confused. What is the hope for me?
There's no hope.
Plenty of hope, plenty of hope.
I know.
The amazing thing is that in material consciousness, the Atma absolutely maximizes themselves to the highest degree. Devotees don't. Devotees understand they are far more potent, they have far more potential, they have far more opportunity and far more gifts being given to them than anything. But they don't maximize themselves, you know, in the way that the materialist does. The materialist, in material consciousness, we really do believe that the world revolves around us. that there is nothing really else going on except my gratification, my success, my opportunities, my desires. Nothing else. Everything else could cease to exist and I wouldn't care. That's the maximizing in material consciousness. The Jnani then tries to take it another way and says, well, yeah, actually I'm going to maximize myself by being the Supreme, merging into the totality of cosmic, etc. So they're always trying to maximize. Whereas devotee is, we are having an increasingly powerful impression of the potency of each of us as spirit souls. That's the amazing thing. And the more we appreciate the potency of the spirit soul and truly experiencing it, the more we're starting to regard ourselves as actually a small part of a much, much bigger picture. And it's talking about the potent and the potency. Here, we're understanding I am just a little bit of the potency that has been inflicted and affected and covered by the avidya potency of Krishna. And I have been thinking I am this body, and still do, frankly. So where am I at? How can I maximize myself when I'm still under the power of the avidya potency? And what about Krishna, who is the potent of which this avidya potency and everything else is just one of his multifarious shaktis? So the process of Krishna consciousness allows us to appreciate our greater opportunity, potential and status as a spirit soul, but in a way that actually brings humility. Okay, thank you very much. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki.
Jai.
Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki.
Jai.
Gaur Premanandi.
Akandadhi Prabhu Jai. Jai.
There's a market today in the downtown city. You can see the prices.
Yesterday I was in the old town and I did this
Very interesting.
I have a question, if I may. You know, it wasn't so my father asked a question. The answer was simple as follows. I would say, but I have not been satisfied with what he says. The sound is not like, let's say, 1,000 years ago, 10,000 years ago, there were any living entities in the universe. And now there are more, n plus x.
How do you know that?
That's what I said, but I couldn't basically
How you counting this?
That's what I said.
Are you just counting this planet? Are you just counting humans? You're saying there's more humans. So we're just counting humans? And so does this planet? How many planets have you counted? Yeah. So
As far as he's concerned, it's a little bit obvious. I can't even myself. I don't even know any text verse that point of the female.
no, I think you just have to question the logic of this question. So, it starts with the premise that the number of living entities is increasing. Where would you get that information from? What are you counting? And my experience is that they've just kind of, that question always comes up about reincarnation because of population Earth increase. But even if it was just a population, because you've got to add up all those who have died in the past. Doesn't it mean they could all be present, or at least 8 billion of them could be present. But the number of humans that have died, the number of entities that have been through human bodies, even if you just did humans, you could still say it's not an issue. But the best thing is just to question what he's counting. And then tease him. Are you thinking there's life on this planet? So is that what you're kind of working on? And if he does, then that's because he really tries to, I don't know, he's got a very narrow. With our parents, we've just got that kind of tease his hand, so he's a walking man. So you just have to kind of, just tease him about the philosophical, without getting him upset.
Naturally made.
And there is also oil made from some seeds. And rub it and then it protects the inside. I could bring it on.
I'm staying 15 days here. Maybe on some piece I could just apply it with what you call this cotton. And I see how, because this
brightens the color, the pattern comes better out, like here the pattern comes more out.
on oil tree, I will say the same color. But with this, those are many, so many different, if I hear a line, I'm a little bit afraid that lines, even now I can't see so much.
When you put oil, then the lines become quite intense.
This is what I would like maybe to try with this. If you have something that
I can bring one. You stay in the temple?
just, yeah, stay in the
What's your name? Vishnu Yagi. But you just come for visiting, you go back to Ukraine?
I'm from Serbia.
Serbia. I'm not from Ukraine.
I came to see
You said you collected this for Ukraine.
So my spiritual master is
Where is it?
his Herzog book says 7
Oh,
kilometers
they are
from
not
there.
there. Yes, very low. What do you say in the temple now?
Yeah, I do. I was, November, December, I do some service in the morning or in the afternoon. I'm the first
I try to have a bottle, normally I have a bottle, then I have my tables and everything, I oil it, and then it becomes protected and the color comes really good, you know.
I used to work with the wood and with some wood oils for the furniture, this and that, for protection. And I have one expert in Greece who does with olive oil. He said to me, like,
He's doing it with olive oil.
no, never with paraffin. It's used in the producing wine. It's even for you can make the creams. It's like
No, paraffin, it's natural, it's from oil, made from
doesn't smell anything, and they put it in the wine to make some process. They also use it for the creams you can buy in the pharmacies, 100 milliliters. Doesn't have smell anything, it just very slightly makes the lines and protects. And also I find another specialist for that in my country is the paraffin. I don't know why, because if you put olive oil on olive tree wood, just make it fall. You spoil it every day. But many they do with the olive oil. They don't stick it.
But this oil, I bring a little bit, and you can try. And this paraffin is made from, from the oil coming out of the chemical gas.
Yeah, made
Benzene,
Yeah.
Paraffin is like this. This is paraben and all this. You make cream also out of it, you know. I can bring it if I have it.
Later, I will also show you, like now I'm running, I will show you when I see you next time these olive wood products that they have. Even with the epoxy, some people they appreciate a lot. They like
They
it.
sell also here in the market in the main station. They have also olive oil stands with the spoons and bowls and everything, cutting
So, can you get the name of this market?
bowls and bowls.
Rosenhof.
Rosenhof, yeah.
How you go?
If you proceed from Bellevue on the right side of
How far is from Berlin?
to walk maybe 10 minutes. It's in the middle, exactly in the middle of the main station and Bellevue. It's on the right side. There is one little church with the guy standing out of it, and then comes the Rathaus, and then it's an entrance into the Rosenhof.
Thank you very much.
wolltest du mich hochnehmen?
No.